Hey guys, we're back. More about video capturing your gameplay footage. Gameplay footage. Let me roll that off the tongue a little better, weller, gooder. I don't know. Anyways, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about Dxtory. I obviously gave you a quick rundown about these three, so now let's kind of talk about Dxtory. Dxtory is capable of recording your gameplay footage. It has the. I'll show you these basic setups. So you're capable of doing multiple profiles. I'll just show you how I set it up, how I prefer it. So you have these ability. If you click into this overlay tab, it's going to show you. Do you want to see while you're recording the video FPS, writing it, recording status? If it's light green, it means it's not recording. If it's orange, it means it is recording. You can change these colors to anything you'd prefer. Green and red, for example. Red and white, blue and white. Whatever you'd prefer. I believe the defaults are this green and orange. You can obviously uncheck that. If you uncheck these things, it's not going to overlay it, so you're not going to see it while you're playing it. Now, I would always suggest having it on. Just so you know if it's working or not. Sometimes I've found with Dxtory is I'll be running the game and we'll go through like a cutscene, let's say, and somehow between that transitioning, Dxtory stops, and I'm not sure why it does that. And it doesn't do that every time. I don't think I've ever had Bandicam have that problem, nor have I don't believe Fraps has done that. But I do believe Dxtory's done that to me before, and so obviously if you don't have this overlay thing, you're not going to see it. Oh my god, for some reason my gameplay stopped recording, and so you could play an hour, you go to do your video, and you realize you have 10 minutes worth, and you're going to be pissed off because you just wasted all this time. Now you got to go back and do everything again, and you kind of don't want to, and now your Let's Play is going to start struggling because you're struggling. The only thing with doing this with any of them, Fraps, Bandicam, having that overlay, is sometimes it could somehow get recorded into the gameplay footage. It's usually, and Bandicam has an ability to uncheck in that and everything, but somehow with cutscenes, it always seems to do something where it's capable of screwing up. It might only record for a half a second, but it might be on there, and that could be annoying to you. So that is a possibility. Your folder tab is just where it's going to record, and then you can test write speed. You're benchmarking it so you can see everything. Obviously, this says 0 because I haven't actually benchmarked it. But however and wherever you want to record it, this is setting up everything. Your start and stopping of the capture, your push to talk in the sense if you want it to record your mic, and if you want it to only record when you hold, let's say, the spacebar button down. If you hit that, now it knows to record. If you have it up and you're talking, it wouldn't be recording. Screenshots, high-speed screenshots. This is just literally setting up all these, whatever button you want. I would always suggest using buttons that games are not going to be using too often. So, for example, a lot of computer games is going to be using the WASD keys, the WASD. So, probably not the best idea to use the W. Now, the end key, let's say the tilde key, those type of keys probably aren't going to be used as often, right? So, I would highly suggest going with those keys. Now we got movie. This is where you're going to be setting up your codecs. Now, as I said, there is this, and if I'll scroll down, the algorithm lossless codec. If unless I'm losing my mind, you'll probably find a lot of people suggest this. I prefer this X264, H264, MPEG-4, AVC codec, and if you just Google for this X264. If you Google for what this says, you should be capable of finding it. It's a free codec, unless I'm going insane. Somehow I paid for this codec and forgot, but this should be a codec you should be capable of getting for free. And then you may need to configure it. So I'll hold this for a second, let you, if you want to look at it, how did I configure it? This preset I set at ultra fast, this profiles auto, levels auto. This is how you want to set up it recording your color. I found, or your Let's Plays, you got the color of the video game. I've found that I prefer to keep it as UV4 to 0. There are other ones, keep accept only RGB. I don't know why you'd prefer any of those to this one. Again, this is what I found to work the best. And then you got fast to code. It's not, what that means is it's not compressing it as well as it could. could, but because it's doing that, it gives you more of your CPU power. Zero latency. Again, it's messing with, you're losing a little your compression efficiency, but again, getting more of your CPU time. Now, obviously, if you're compressing it and it's doing all these things, then it could start slowing your game down, and you don't want your game to be lagging all the time just because you're compressing and you have this super small file. You got to find a balance. So it's going to depend on how good your CPU is. Do you have an iCore 7 and iCore 5? Is it, a 3.7 gigahertz, or is it a 1 gigahertz? There's something you got to look at your specs and figure out. This rate control quantizer, I'm using a 23. Output mode, I always had it break if I put it to file. If I kept it at VFW, and then this H.264, you got these other codecs, 4cc's, VFW 4cc's, it's labeled as. I always found the H.264, this setup, to work the best. Collect this guy, this virtual dub hacked, I collect that, and then I also put this, in this command line, this -- key init 1, which should be some type of code. I don't know exactly what it does. There's just a few tutorials I was reading, and they kept talking about doing this, so I did. This is how I set it up. This is the best I've had it work with. So this is what I would suggest. But again, there are those other codecs you can select from, download, try. I just really had compression issues with them, honestly. So this X264 is the one that I found that's capable of compressing and still giving you good quality and letting it run everything well. Also, your frame rates, you usually want to have this 30 frames per second. Anything lower, you start, let's say, doing 24, 15, things like that, you really start chopping it, and your video is going to start looking pretty poorly. If you can obviously go faster, if you have a killer CPU, your computer's just amazing, everything's running fast, you can do 60 or 120, you don't go for it, you're not hurting yourself in any way. But 30 is what is the standard. So now let's go ahead and jump in our audio tab. Audio, as you remember, I setting with Dxtory, you can have multiple lines in. So you have, right now it's 1 and 2, so 1's my speakers, like the game, it would be gameplay footage. 2 is set as the same as speakers, but I would change it to my line XMOS XS1, my Yeti. This is my Yeti mic. This would be gameplay footage. So those are different ones to set. Then I could hit 3, and then I'd change it to something else. You could do 4, let's see, 5, 6. It just keeps going and going and going and going. So that is pretty cool and helpful. Next one I think is just your screenshot options. Let's see, your advanced. I've seen people do different things with it. Mine's all unchecked currently. It's probably not the best. There's probably a better way to, click this and unclick that, change its number. But I've had it work well without it. So let me say that. And then your, global tab, and then your information tab. So things like that. So that's pretty much Dxtory. Give it a shot. One other thing pretty cool about the folders is I believe you're capable of setting it up so you can record your gameplay footage and have it recording to multiple spots. So you could have, let's say, 3 drives and it going to drive 1, 2, and 3, taking up different amounts of room, and it should be writing faster that way. And then you go into this, I believe, raw cap converter, and you drag those files into there, and then it converts it all into one, if I remember correctly. I've never done that. I've seen a few videos about that. I'm not going to show you how to do that because I don't use it. But there is that option, and if you want to learn more about it, it's all over the web how to do that, why to do that, and everything. So that's something you should just be aware of, and if you want to try it, you know about it now. Alright guys, we're probably going to leave it there for Dxtory, and hopefully this showed you just kind of a good setup for recording your video. Later guys.